Lewis Hamilton silenced critics with stunning recovery drive to 5th from 19th. Only the wind can stop Max Verstappen, and Ferrari's season is in danger of unraveling after Charles Leclerc DNF. 7 things we learned from the Spanish GP. Typical of the 2022 Formula One season, the Spanish Grand Prix offered plenty of twists and turns during an entertaining race at the Circuit de Catalunya. A race that looked like being dominated by Charles Leclerc was thrown open once the Ferrari driver was forced to retire, as both Red Bulls and the Mercedes of George Russell all went on to lead the race at some point in Barcelona. Eventually Max Verstappen triumphed atop the World Championship for the first time since winning the title in December, but there was plenty to take away from the 6th round of the season as Sportsmail looks at the things we learned from the Spanish Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton can still produce the unthinkable. Luck has not been with Lewis Hamilton this season, and it certainly wasn't with him again at the Spanish Grand Prix. Qualifying 6th, the Brit made a decent enough start at Catalunya, before he was tagged on the opening lap by Kevin Magnussen's Haas. While the 7-time champion managed to initially maintain his position on the track, the collision led to him picking up a left front puncture, forcing him to tour most of the lap slowly before pitting. The lost time saw him not just drop to 19th, only ahead of Magnussen, who had taken to the gravel after their collision, but well off the tail of the pack as he put on a new set of tyres. Having then complained to the team that it was pointless carrying on, his team insisted for him to continue as there was still a chance of minor points for 8th. But what followed was one of arguably the Brit's best drives. He soon caught the back of the pack, and amid the drama at the front of the grid, somehow clawed his way up into 6th place. Hamilton then passed former teammate Valtteri Bottas and Carlos Sainz, the latter driving a Ferrari that had the pace to win the race. The 37-year-old then suffered even more bad luck when a water leak forced him to slow in the last couple of laps, allowing Sainz to repass as he limped over the line in 5th. It may not have been a headline result, but it was an astonishing comeback given there were no safety cars to take advantage of in making up the huge amount of time he lost on the opening lap. Give him a race-winning car and Hamilton can still deliver the goods. Russell passes another test. George Russell can do little wrong in the Mercedes right now, and he capitalized fully once again at the weekend by gaining the final podium spot behind the Red Bulls. Granted, he had been leading the race at one point, but he never stood a chance of holding off both the Red Bulls in his inferior Mercedes. The best he could do was frustrate them, and that's exactly what he did during the first part of the race. After climbing to 3rd, he soon moved into 2nd behind Leclerc when Verstappen ran wide at turn 4 into the gravel. What followed was expert defensive driving from Russell, who despite being under heavy pressure from the Dutchman managed to keep him behind lap after lap through a clever knack of strategically placing his car where he was most likely to be overtaken. This included turn 1, where even when he was eventually passed by Verstappen on the inside, he fought back at the next couple of corners to regain the position. Verstappen's frustrations grew so much that he had to change strategy to make use of his faster car, by instead passing him through the pit stop phases. It's another ribbon to the bow of the Brit, who has been one of the stars of the season so far with 6 consecutive top 5 finishes. His latest performance though shows he doesn't just have the speed to attack, but he has the tools to defend as part of his racecraft. Little can blow Verstappen off course, except the wind. The pattern is set this term. When Max Verstappen finishes the race, he wins. It's 4 Grand Prix wins from 6 in 2022 now for the world champion, with his 2 non-wins coming courtesy of race retirements from 2nd place in Bahrain at the opening race of the season as well as in Australia. He hasn't had it all his own way on track, with title rival Charles Leclerc testing him on more than one occasion this term, while George Russell's defensive masterclass left him highly frustrated for a long time at the Circuit de Catalunya on Sunday. But the action at Barcelona did show that while few on the track can stop him, there are more unconventional and simple ways to halt him in his tracks. It turns out the Dutchman can be caught by a surprise gust of wind blowing around a track. While chasing Charles Leclerc in the early part of the race, Verstappen uncharacteristically ran wide at turn 4 into the gravel, just a lap after Sainz had done the exact same thing for Ferrari. It soon emerged that a tricky gust of wind around that part of the circuit was testing the drivers, and it led to the Dutchman dropping to fourth behind Mercedes' George Russell and teammate Sergio Perez. Having also had to put up with a faulty DRS system, denying him more speed in a straight line, Verstappen eventually cleared both before going on to win the race. Rivals may be hoping for windy conditions elsewhere now they have found the new World Championship leader's weakness, but that's unlikely to come at the next race around the tight and twisty streets around Monte Carlo.